If I told you that there was a guaranteed way to earn more than 24% on your money, you would tell me I was full of it. However, for 44% of Americans, there is a guaranteed way to earn more than 24% on your money with no research and no risk. And that 44% number is the number of Americans who carry a credit card balance. And the average interest rate for a new credit card issue today is 24.64%. So assuming that's your average APR and you do carry a credit card balance from month to month and you're not paying it off every month, well, instead of taking your extra money to go try to make money on mining stocks, if you instead take your extra money to pay off your credit card, you're guaranteed to earn more than 24% on that money. So in this video, I just wanted to bring this to your attention quickly. If you're thinking about investing in mining stocks at all, because this channel is all about mining stocks, but you're carrying a credit card balance, forget about the mining stocks. Forget about that. Just take all of your extra money and pay down those credit cards as fast as possible. And in this video, I'm going to try to teach you a couple things to help you pay off those credit cards and to pay the least amount of interest possible. The first thing you can do to help pay down your credit cards as fast as possible is call the credit card company and ask for a lower rate. There was a study that showed that 64% of people who called and asked for a lower rate got one. So maybe you're able to lower your rate by 5 percentage points. And if you're able to do that, that's going to allow more of your payment each month to pay down the principal rather than paying off interest. Before you call to ask for a lower rate, you're going to want to check your statement and go down to the bottom of your statement where it's going to list your interest rate. And then from there, you could just do some quick research online, search Google for a low interest rate credit card, and then you'll have websites popping up with various options and you'll see what kind of APR they're offering. Or you could try to find one with a balance transfer option. For example, the Citi Simplicity card offers 0% interest on balance transfers for 21 months. So when you call your bank, you could be like, hey, I've been a customer for 6 years and I've made on-time payments, and I noticed my interest rate is 25%. And that seems really high to me compared to what some competitors out there offer. For example, there's this card that offers 15%. Or there's even this offer that I have from the Citi Simplicity card for a 0% interest rate for 21 months. Do you think you could work with me to try to lower that interest rate a little bit? Maybe they say yes, maybe they say no. If they say no, ask for a supervisor and then say the same thing to the supervisor. And maybe the supervisor says yes, but the worst thing they can say is no. And if they do, okay, just try back in a couple of months. And then try the next card you have a balance on and see if anybody else is willing to lower your interest rate. And next, if you're watching an investment channel, you probably have some extra cash. So the next way to pay off those credit cards fast is simply to use that cash to pay them off. My next piece of advice is to try to increase your income. So maybe that's getting a second job. Maybe that's trying to earn more money at your current job somehow. Maybe there's some bonuses available. Or starting some type of side gig. Maybe you're handy around the house and you can hire your services out to people who need someone's help fixing things around the house. Things like that are in high demand. Or maybe you just have some extra things lying around that you don't use that you could sell, and any money that you get from selling those things, you apply it to the credit cards. Any extra money you can get to apply to the credit cards is going to help pay that off faster. The next thing that's really going to help pay off your credit cards fast is to sign up for another credit card that's offering a balance transfer promotion. The best one I currently know about is the one I previously mentioned. That's a Citi Simplicity card, which offers 21 months, almost 2 years, at 0% interest. You just have to pay a 3% transfer fee. So if you're going to transfer $10,000 onto that card, for example, well, then you're going to pay a $300 fee, but that's just a one-time fee. And a 3% fee, that's going to be equivalent to 1 or 2 months of interest on your average credit card in the US. So basically that 3% fee is like being charged interest for 1.5 months. And then after that, for the rest of those 21 months, well, then you're getting 0% interest. And that's going to allow you to save a lot on interest expense over that time frame. For example, let's say you're transferring from a card that has a 25% interest rate on $10,000. That's going to cost you $2,500 a year in interest. with almost 2 years at 0%, you're looking at about $4,500 in interest saved. And instead of paying that interest to the bank, you can instead use that saved money to pay off your credit cards. And by the way, to find the best balance transfer offers, you can just Google best balance transfer credit cards and it'll come up with a list of results. But let's say you apply for one of these and you're denied because your credit isn't good enough. Well, in this next tip, I'm going to teach you a quick trick on how to get your credit score up quickly, so maybe a month from now, you can get approved for one of these cards. To understand how to raise your credit score fast, we first need to learn about a concept called credit utilization. So over here on the left, you have Bob, who has a $10,000 credit limit on his one credit card, and over here you have Bill with the same credit limit. But Bob over here has a $900 balance, so he has a credit utilization of just 9%. And the credit bureaus consider anything under 10% to be excellent. People who have a credit utilization under 10% are considered to be at a very, very low risk of default. Whereas Bill over here, he has a $10,000 limit, but he's carrying a $7,000 balance. So his credit utilization is 70%. And people with a 70% credit utilization have a pretty high risk of default. So we want to get this utilization down. But if you have multiple cards with different credit limits and different utilizations, it gets pretty easy to kind of manipulate this in a way to raise your credit score up quickly. When the credit bureaus determine your credit score, the credit utilization is extremely important. The overall number is pretty important, but what's even more important is the credit utilization on each individual account. The credit bureaus are looking at a few key numbers: credit utilization in excess of 90%, 70%, 50%, 30%, 10%. So under 10% is the very best, and 90% or more is considered extremely risky. So in this example here, we have 4 different credit cards, credit card number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and each of them has a different balance and a different credit limit. So credit card number 1, for example, has a credit limit of $1,000, and the balance is $950. So the utilization on that is 95%. So this credit card is hurting this person's credit score a lot. And credit card number 2, a $2,000 limit, a $2,000 balance, 100% utilization. This one is also really bad. This one's hurting the credit score a lot as well. Credit card number 3, $5,000 limit, $2,000 balance with a utilization of 40%. This one isn't too bad. This one's in pretty good shape here. And then number 4, you have a credit limit of $8,000, a balance of $1,600, and a utilization of 20%. So this utilization is in the second best category here out of 5. So it's under 30%, so that's considered pretty darn good. So low risk in the eyes of the credit bureau. So to get our score up the fastest, what we're going to do is we're going to pay off a little of credit card number 1 and a little of credit card number 2. So for example, on credit card number 1, just by paying off $51, we get this balance to $899, which brings our credit utilization under that key 90% number. Now getting it under 70% is even better. So if we can pay off $251 and bring this balance down to $699, well, that gets us under 70%, which is going to make your credit score shoot up as soon as that credit card company reports to the credit bureaus. And they report about once a month shortly after your credit card closing date. And then next, we're going to tackle the balance on credit card number 2, because this one's really important as well. So here we can get under a 90% utilization by paying $201 on this credit card and getting that balance down to $17.99. Even better if you can get that under 70%, which would be what? Paying off $601 and getting your balance down to $13.99, which would be just under that 70% mark. And also, since our balances aren't very high on these, if you have some extra money and you can get this down from 95% all the way down under 10%, so what would that be? That would be, let's just call it a $900 payment. You get that utilization down to 5%, and then you're under that magic 10% number, which is going to help your credit score go way up really quickly. And now on credit card number 2, it would take more of a payment. It would take about $1,800 in a payment to get that down to 10%. Ideally, you want it a little under 10%, but with that, you get it under that 10% mark, and that's going to help your credit score shoot up. So with relatively small payments, we can get our credit score up really fast in this example. These have the lowest utilizations, so we're not going to put any more spend on these credit cards. However, right now, we're just going to make the minimum payment as we try to get the balance down on these, because these are going to affect our credit score a lot more because the utilization is so much higher than on credit card number 3 and 4. So using just this quick, simple tip is going to increase your credit score by quite a bit and help improve your chances of qualifying for one of those balance transfer cards. So if you have a balance on your credit cards, you might as well get that guaranteed 25% with no risk whatsoever. And then after you get that paid off, we can try to make some money investing in mining stocks.